Hello and welcome to Teacher Training in 10. My name is Shannon and I'm the founder of Exciting Teacher, a former primary school teacher, and I now work for children's mental health in the NHS. In today's video, we are going to be exploring how to support emotional regulation in your classroom and how to support children that might be struggling with managing and navigating their big feelings in the moment. This video is going to be stuffed full of practical strategies to help get you started and to support you with that all important emotional regulation skills in your classroom. Let's get stuck straight in. The starting point for our training today is all around what is emotional regulation, because it's important to understand what it is so that then we can work to support it and support the children in our classrooms and homes. So, emotional regulation is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions in healthy and helpful ways. That's really key here, because actually we can be managing emotions in very unhelpful and unhealthy ways, and that's not particularly useful in our classrooms and homes or to support children's overall mental health and well-being. It's a skill that develops over time. What does this mean for us as practitioners or teachers? It means that we can teach children how to regulate their emotions. They're not just born with this innate knowledge on how to do so. In the classroom, it looks like a child being able to calm themselves after being upset, wait their turn, express feelings appropriately and proportionately, or asking for help. A child-friendly definition here is emotional regulation means learning to calm down when we feel big feelings. Now, I think I speak for everyone here when I say that we've all seen emotional dysregulation in action. We've all seen children or grown-ups getting very upset. They might be pushing people away from them, wanting to fight, flight, or freeze, and they're really showing that outward response. However, what's not always clear, and this is also quite unhelpful actually, is that what causes the emotional dysregulation in the first place. And this is particularly important for in the classroom, because if we can work out a child's triggers of dysregulation, we can then learn to support them through those moments by either removing the trigger or adapting kind of their response to the trigger. So we've got triggers vary, of course, for all children and all grown-ups. So what dysregulates one person won't dysregulate another person. Common classroom triggers, though, are, and these are things that, I've seen in my work, but also that other teachers have shared. So things like sudden changes and transitions. So kind of that little micro transitions from carpet to table, or transition from the classroom to assembly, or bigger transitions, so from one year group to another, for example. Sensory overload, so noise, light and smells, overstimulated classrooms with lots of stuff on the walls that's really kind of hard to focus on as well, can not be very helpful sometimes. Unclear expectations, so when we have a clear idea in our head what we want children to do, but the children don't quite understand what we're expecting them to do. Peer conflict or social rejection, so we know that children, like grown-ups as well, are very responsive to their social relationships that they form and their connections, and this is really important for mental health, well-being and emotional literacy. So when we're at conflict, or when our social relationships have been strained or not forming properly or correctly or appropriately, that can really trigger an emotional response. Feeling tired, feeling hungry, or any unmet need as well. So they might be needing a movement break, maybe they're tired and they didn't sleep last night, maybe they're hungry, thirsty, needing the toilet, all of those kinds of things. Children may not be able to explain their distress to us, and it often shows outwardly as behaviour. Poor behaviour, unhelpful behaviour, kind of not the expected behaviour that we expect in our classroom can be what often emotional dysregulation presents as when we are teaching. But we all know that all behaviour is a form of communicating. They are trying to communicate a need, a want, something that they need help with, or an emotion of some kind. So that's really important. So kind of spotting those triggers and what's causing the emotional distress is going to then help us to move forwards beyond kind of what the cause is into finding a solution. Now, this is where our teacher or parent skills come into action. So our superpowers in learning to read the clues that the child is showing us. So emotional dysregulation is always going to show up in the body first. Whether or not a child notices or acknowledges or is aware of that sensation, it is there, but sometimes children find it hard to tune in to kind of their physical bodily sensations. But things that we're looking out for are restlessness, hyperactivity. We're looking out for children that are freezing, shutting down, withdrawing, not wanting to take part. We're looking for children that are fidgeting. They might have clenched fists, they might be breathing quickly, they might have their heart racing, they might be pacing, all of those kinds of behaviours. They might be showing silly behaviour to mask discomfort. So the children that, they're telling the jokes, they're being the centre of attention, they are showing us all of these kind of silly quirks that they might have. But actually that can be really masking some emotional dysregulation and comfort. So it's something to keep an eye out of. And we need to teach children how to spot their own body clues. So we can be, if we notice or we observe something in a child, so I can see that you are fidgeting right now. Is that because you're feeling X, Y, Z? So you can make suggestions and notice and model. We're kind of showing children that we're spotting these things to help get them to start spotting their own body clues. When we are learning to read the clues, it's important to keep in mind the window of tolerance. So that's like a window, a space, a area that we want children and grown-ups to kind of be within. We want children to be within the window of tolerance, so the things that they can cope with, things that makes them feel, calm and confident and able to give things a try. When we're in the window of tolerance kind of zone, we are using our logical thinking brain, we are very present, we are in control, we are ready to learn, we are alert, we are calm, and we are content. We are able to take on board learning opportunities, we're able to get along with our peers and our friends, and we are able to be responding to kind of what we've been asked to do. So that's when we're within the window of tolerance. Outside of that window, so if we kind of go above the window of tolerance, we can end up in hyperarousal, which is dysregulation that leads to big feelings that are extremely overwhelming. So we get kind of our window of tolerance, then our dysregulation kind of starting to happen, and then we end up in this state of being where we are so overwhelmed, we are so out of control of our big feelings, our fight, flight, freeze response is activated because our body's trying to keep us safe. If we go the other way out of the window of tolerance, we can end up in dysregulation through kind of disassociation, not wanting to take part, withdrawing. We're going to end up in hypoarousal, which is where it's things like zoning out, withdrawn, loss of kind of time, so children don't realise time's passing. They might have sat there, they've completely zoned out, they haven't done the activity that you've asked them to do, they're feeling stuck or frozen. It's because they're in this state of being, of feeling very stuck and distant and not associated with something. So they're kind of like the two ends of the same scale. So we want children to exist just in this middle zone. Now, this middle zone is made smaller by things like stress, anxiety, trauma, and rejection, or children not knowing what to do or how to do something or feeling out of their depth. And it's made bigger by mindfulness, self-talk, grounding techniques, breathing techniques, and also lots of self-care and practice too. So when we are supporting children with their emotional regulation, it's going to support not going into the dysregulation stage, but also expanding that window of tolerance by giving them coping strategies to get through kind of those moments of big feelings where we could end up easily on one side or the other of our window of tolerance. Before children are able to self-regulate their big feelings, they need to learn how to co-regulate. So that means being the child's calm when they cannot be calm themselves. So we are sitting alongside them, we are, being at the same level as them, and we are showing and modelling calm. So we're using a low and slow voice tone is really important when narrating. So you're having a big feelings moment right now, I'm here to help you, so you can kind of narrate what you see and what you observe. Offer choices within structure, so those tiny micro choices are key. So would you like to squeeze the squishy or draw it out? So kind of we are giving them two choices, and ideally using a now and next kind of choice board as well, or a two options choice board. So my choices are with the two options. We have some of those on Exciting Teacher as well, but we're giving those micro choices and we're removing the cognitive ability of being able to remember the choices by giving them visually. We're validating the feelings before fixing any feelings. So it makes sense that you feel angry right now because XYZ just happened. So we are validating it's okay to feel that way before we then move to the point of co-regulating and fixing or addressing or supporting those big feelings to calm back down. Now, some quick wins in these times are going to be things like breathing prompts, so box breathing, so breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, in for 4, and repeat. Movement breaks, so getting the body up and moving, distracted, heavy lifting, pushing, all of those kinds of things. Sensory tools or quiet corners as well if you have access to one. So they're kind of the quick wins. But we need to be modelling and using co-regulation strategies before we can ever expect children to be able to emotionally regulate on their own and independently. Here's the key to emotional literacy. We need to embed emotional regulation into our daily routines in the classroom or in your home. So by building emotional regulation into your classroom systems or home systems, this is going to support with that everyday ongoing topping up of emotional regulation, because actually we can learn how to regulate our emotions just as effectively when we are calm as to when we're experiencing big feelings and our brain's kind of taken over into safety mode and we're not open to learning new ideas in those moments. So it's really, really important that we are continuously regulating our emotions and we're topping up those skills so that we can use those skills when we really, really need them when we're feeling out of control. How do we do this? So things like morning emotional check-ins, using visual scales, or we've got scribbles kind of check-in cards for the scribbles crew. We've also got morning starter slides, which will be coming up in a later slide to show you as well. And there's lots of ways of kind of checking in with emotions. Using predictable routines with clear steps and visuals. Again, the steps approach, I'm going to show you that on our next slide that's going to support with everyday routines for embedding kind of emotional regulation. So breaking down tasks into manageable chunks and so that we can work through it step by step, as well as going to support that overall emotional regulation kind of headspace. Embed time for mindfulness or stillness daily, so just being present, just being calm, being in the moment. I'm going to show you the wellbeing nook in a couple of slides' time. And we need to be modelling regulation with your own language. So, for example, I'm feeling a bit frustrated right now, and my big feelings are bubbling up, so I'm going to take a deep breath, because we are the role model to the children that we spend time with, so therefore they're going to be copying and mimicking what we do. So if we are showing ourselves being flustered and frustrated and not taking any calm, deep breaths, then they're not going to be using their calm, deep breaths either. So we need to be modelling the skills that we teach the children in our classroom and homes. So the steps approach is all about breaking tasks down into manageable and achievable steps for children. This is going to reduce the cognitive load that they need to remember to do all of the instructions that you've just given them. It's going to give them a clear visual so they know what step they're on and what step they're trying to reach. And it's going to support with that emotional regulation of I'm in the moment, I'm feeling calm, I'm in control. If you think about our window of tolerance, they're right in the middle of that zone rather than either end. And that's going to support with kind of continuously regulating those emotions at a steady, calm level. If you would like to find out more about the STEPS approach, you'll find it in the Exciting Teacher Hub. I'm going to leave a link down below. It's for our Plus members only. And there's currently a 30% off discount code going on right now as we speak, and I will put the date for when that closes also down in the description too. So make sure you take advantage of that to get resources like this, but it's for Plus members only. The idea of embedding emotional regulation into your daily routine in your classroom and home doesn't need to be complicated. We have the Wellbeing Nook, as for Exciting Teacher Plus members, that supports you in building in emotional regulation, emotional literacy skills, affirmations, mindfulness, all of those kind of goodness, breathing techniques, grounding techniques, into your classroom without the need to make it super overcomplicated. So you can just schedule these into throughout your day to kind of come back to just to re-regulate your class or come back to them when you really need them. So we've got things that are around connection, we've got kind of noticing and observing videos as well, drawing, doodling, all sorts of things that's going to help children just to regulate their emotions through these kind of tools and resources and videos that you can just pop into your kind of daily timetable to support that ongoing continuous regulation of emotions. So if you'd like to find out more about the Wellbeing Nook, I'm going to leave a link down below. And again, it's for Plus members only, and you can access tens and tens and tens of videos linked to kind of regulating emotions or building emotional literacy skills. So it's kind of something there for everybody. And it's perfect for EYFS all the way up to year 6 as well. Another key aspect of developing emotional regulation skills is all around developing emotional literacy skills too. Because if children cannot name it, then how are they ever going to learn how to tame it? So we need to teach children how to name their emotions, how to notice, recognize, and say out loud when they are feeling that way, because children cannot regulate until they can do that. So we start with core feelings, and then we're going to build on that vocabulary. So you start with things like happy, sad, angry, scared, and then you build on that vocabulary to give them more and more words to explain how they're feeling more accurately. So things like worried, excited, lonely, frustrated, annoyed, panicky, all of those kinds of things. Using visuals, stories, role plays, and the Scribble crew to explore the emotions. So in the Exciting Teacher Hub, we have our own unique Scribbles friends. So the Scribbles crew are our own child-friendly version of different like emojis, I guess, to help children to understand their emotions and articulate how they're feeling. We link feelings to thoughts, bodily clues, and behaviours throughout your teaching, so you can kind of link them all together because they all go together in a big circle. And then we're scaffolding all of the time. So today I felt when etc. happened. I noticed my body felt. So we can be modelling to children how we are feeling and giving them the sentence starters to then share how they are feeling in return. In the next slide, we're going to be exploring the big feeling scale that's also going to support with the emotional literacy development and the emotional regulation skills too. The Big Feelings Scale has been adapted to support whole class approaches to mental health, well-being, emotional literacy, and emotional regulation skills. So the idea is that this is an adapted kind of version of the 5-point scale, but directly adapted to support children on a whole class level. So you can have your Big Feelings Scale on display in your classroom. You've got the 1 to 5 kind of scaling rating with all the different emotions that kind of come under the umbrella of each category, kind of what children might feel like or what their body might be doing when they're feeling that way, and then what they can do in that moment to support them with feeling better and moving back down from say a 4 down to a 2, or from a 5 down to a 3, or all the way back down to a 1 as well. So the idea is that children can kind of spot when they're feeling a big feeling bubbling up and then work their way back down by using some calming strategies to get them there. You could add photos to this, you can make it completely your own, you can make the volcano kind of look really cool in 3D, but the Big Feelings Scale is just going to support with that emotional regulation and emotional literacy skills in parallel in your classroom on a day-to-day basis. If you'd like to know more about this strategy, you will find it in the Exciting Teacher Hub for Plus members. I'm going to leave a link down below, as I've already mentioned before now, to kind of support you with getting started with that. Here are some resources that may help support you with developing those emotional regulation skills in your classroom. We've got the morning starter slides for a calm start each day that's going to prioritise emotional literacy check-ins. We've got things like the regulation road trip. We've got feelings check-ins in the form of colours, shapes, kind of how does it actually feel on the inside of your body rather than necessarily having to name or label the feeling directly. It goes by kind of how it's feeling. And then also brain breaks as well to support with just getting children up, moving around, resetting before focusing back in on what they need to do. And all of this can go alongside the wellbeing note videos that I've showed you before now as well to support those emotional regulation skills. The Exciting Teacher Hub has got over 700 resources to support you in your classroom with mental health, wellbeing and emotional literacy, including hundreds of emotional literacy resources and emotional regulation resources. It's all linked down below. Here's another sneak peek into the Wellbeing Nook and some of the interactive games that we have available for regulating emotions and also being able to name emotions too. So this one invites children to choose how they are feeling and then choose a calming strategy that they can practice together when feeling calm, in the idea of when they then are feeling that big feeling, they've got some tools in their toolkit to help them feel better. If you'd like to know more about this, the Wellbeing Nook's linked below. Thank you so much for watching this Teacher Training in 10 video all around supporting emotional regulation in the classroom. Hopefully it's got you thinking about some practical ways and some ideas that you can now be implementing into your classroom to support children's mental health, wellbeing and emotional literacy skills, and to support them in being able to regulate those really big overwhelming feelings before they bubble up and become far too overwhelming. My name's Shannon, I'm the founder of Exciting Teacher, and thank you so much for stopping by Teacher Training in 10. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I upload every single Monday a new teacher training video for you for free, of course. If you would like to get my free guide on how to get a calm classroom with 99 ideas on how to do so, it is linked down below. And yeah, I hope to see you in the Exciting Teacher Hub really soon. See you around. Have a nice rest of your day.